Akio Toyota is a simple man with simple goals. Conquer the Nurburgring, dominate the World Rally Championship, resurrect one of the most important sports cars of all time, run the largest car company in the world. Simple stuff, you know, like that. But who made Toyota-san into a race car loving CEO that he is today? Why is his alter ego a straight up shrub? That's a little tree. And what even the is a Gazoo? Grab a Capri Sun and flush your toilet, because this is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Gazoo Racing.
Thank you, Sharks, for joining me today. Now, there are two things you need to go fast: big power and lightweight. I've spent hours of research and development to bring you this.
Toyota Gazoo Racing has won Le Mans 4 years in a row. They've been first or second in the WRC Constructors Championship for 4 years, and this year, they won Dakar, the grueling and deadly 9,000-mile off-road race with nearly as many do not finishes as finishes. And what they've learned in motorsport has influenced the design of some of the most significant sports cars of this here dang darn millennium. Now that success is due to the hard work of thousands of Toyota employees, but the one man who has made it all possible is a car enthusiast by the name of Akio Toyota with a D. And luckily, his last name is not a coincidence. He just so happens to be the company's president. All right, it's a pretty good job, okay? It's pretty good. I'm not even the president of Donut, okay? Gazoo Racing shows what's possible for a boring car company when the person at the top actually gives a shit about cars. Crazy, right? Akio Toyota is even called Master Driver, a title reserved for the company's highest ranking test driver. The coolest job title in the history of the world. But Toyota-san wasn't born a winning race car driver. He was born as a businessman, like Boss Baby. As the grandson of Toyota's founder, Kiichiro Toyota, Toyota-san was on a path to one day take charge of the family business. But having the name that's on the sign out front isn't enough to be put in charge of an international publicly traded company. It is for a lot of companies, but props to the Toyotas for not making it all you need. I'm looking at you, Edsel Ford. Toyota-san had to learn the business. After completing a master's degree in finance in the US, he officially became an employee of the Toyota Motor Company in 1984. But let's be clear. Toyota-san wasn't just handed the keys to the executive bathroom. No, he had to pee in the regular old bathroom just like everybody else. His father, Shoichiro Toyota, had recently become president, and when Toyota-san asked about joining the company, his father was against it. He said that nobody wants to be the president's son's boss. And we can all identify with that, right? I mean, I watched Succession, okay? Kendall much? Rory Culkin? Kieran Culkin? You got Macaulay, you got Rory, you got Kieran. I'm best friends with the Culkins. But Toyota-san wasn't deterred. He applied and was hired as a junior manager at the Motomachi plant. He spent 14 years climbing that old corporate ladder before landing an executive vice president role. It wasn't until 2000 that Toyota-san finally joined Toyota's board of directors. 16 years! 16 years! I haven't done anything for 16 years. And around that same time, two monumental things happened that would change the course of his life. He was put in charge of an important part of Toyota's marketing strategy, Gazoo.com. Don't worry, we're gonna explain what that means. It's not just a flute that you hum into. And then he met Toyota's then master driver, Hiromu Naruse. Now, a bit on Hiromu Naruse. He had applied for a job with Toyota in 1963. Because he was certified in the use of an abacus, he almost became an accountant. Yes, an abacus. They were used by serious businessmen in the 1960s. They helped send a guy to the moon. But since Naruse was also a certified mechanic, the company placed him in vehicle testing instead. He really dodged a bullet there, in my opinion. Drive cars or do maths? I'm taking cars every day, baby. He quickly developed a reputation for telling engineers exactly how to improve their cars. Now, Narusse's feedback was crucial to the development of race cars like the Toyota 7 and sports cars like the 2000 GT. And by the 1970s, Narusse was put in charge of Toyota Motorsports and became chief test driver. Over the next 3 decades, Narusse shaped the development of the Toyota MR2, the Altezza, and the legendary Mark IV Supra, which was developed at the Nurburgring. James May hates the Nurburgring. Because of all that testing, Narusse drove more laps at the ring than any other Japanese driver. Ferrari test drivers called him Nurmeister, which means master of the Nurburgring. These guys are from Ferrari. Now, at the time, Toyota's unofficial goal was to make ever better cars, an objective that was later formalized thanks to Toyota-san. Now, Narusse said the only way to build better was with drivers and engineers testing under the most challenging conditions, racetracks and motorsports. But by the year 2000, he began to notice a change in the company.
Quieter, smoother, better than ever.
Like my aunt's life before she left my former Uncle Chris, Toyota had begun to get beige. Guess what, Uncle Chris? She's got a freaking belly button ring now.
Surprise!
She's in Tulum with her 18-year-old boyfriend.
Oh, yeah, sounds good.
Many thought the company's future was in the Prius, baby SUVs like the RAV4, and the perennial business sales guy car, the Camry. Perhaps Narusse thought the only way Toyota would ever return to being a performance powerhouse is if he personally got sassy with some executives, all right? So, our boy went and got sassy, y'all. Upon meeting Akio Toyota in 2001, he reportedly said, "I don't want to hear you giving me advice about cars when you clearly don't know how to drive." And then he ripped open his shirt and slapped him on the chest. According to another person in the room, he then offered or threatened, "I'll teach you how to drive." It's to his boss, bro. That meeting was a wake-up call for Toyota-san. He completely agreed. He described himself as just a car lover who didn't know the first thing about how to correctly evaluate a car. So in 2002, the Toyota executive vice president became an apprentice to the master driver. And Narusse was not gonna go easy on him. So he brought Toyota-san to the Nurburgring. Now the ring has a bit of a reputation. Made a whole video about it. It's in the description below. Calling the track the Green Hell isn't some ironic nickname like a huge guy named Tiny. It's actually an incredibly difficult and deadly piece of road. Exact numbers of fatalities are hard to come by, but estimates go as high as 12 deaths per year. That's 1 death a month. All right, imagine every time you write your rent check, some guy dies. So Toyota-san was beginning his apprenticeship on max difficulty, but he also had the best teacher. Now he just needed the best car, and that was a problem. Narusse's car of choice was the Nurburgring tested Mark IV Supra, a car Toyota had discontinued that very year. But Narusse and Toyota-san refused to settle for anything less, so for 4 years they trained at the Nurburgring, driving whatever used Supras they could track down.
At that time, Supra is no longer in production, no longer sells. All other car makers, their vehicle is the vehicle which they are going to introduce 2 or 3 years from now. Only Toyota, only myself is driving used car.
Now, Toyota-san wasn't just learning how to drive from Narusse, he was learning an entire philosophy about cars. According to Narusse, roads make cars. So, to understand what makes a great car, you have to experience lots of different environments where cars are used, all right? It became clear that turning lap after lap
After lap, after lap, after lap, after lap, after lap, after lap.
at the Nurburgring wasn't enough. Narusse said they needed to go racing. The two decided to build a race team of Toyota employees to spread Narusse's message of Genshi Genbutsu. Narusse had always been critical of engineers who stayed behind a desk, so in 2007 they assembled a crew to participate in the 24 hours of the Nurburgring endurance race. They were gonna pee in the chair and sit in the chair together. They do pee in the car. Now, Toyota had been active in motorsport for decades. Racing was in the company and Toyota-san's DNA. In 1952, the founder, his grandfather, said, "Car racing is more than entertainment. It is vital to development." But 50 years later, Toyota was a different company, right? And Toyota-san wasn't president yet. His plan to go racing didn't have the company's blessing. Now, since they weren't an official factory-backed team, Toyota refused to provide cars. So the team went out and bought 2 used Altezas, which was another model that had been discontinued. You might know them as the first generation Lexus IS cars here in the States. Now, because this was all unofficial, they weren't allowed to have cars wearing Toyota liveries. But since Toyota-san oversaw the company's internet presence, their Altezas wore Gazoo.com liveries. And we've come full circle. Okay, so Gazoo is a very silly word in English, but in Japanese, Gazoo means image or picture, and it's the word Toyota chose for its visual information systems, or terminals. The Gazoo terminals were installed all over Japan in the 90s so customers could access a Toyota network and get information about cars. That system evolved into Gazoo.com, which functioned as a combo platter of Facebook and Amazon. So in 2007, Gazoo Racing was born without factory support or permission, and their first race was covered in a blog on Gazoo.com as though they were just another private team. Now, to help keep their efforts quiet, Toyota-san entered the race under a pseudonym, Moriso. Much like the team itself, Toyota's conservative leadership didn't approve of what Toyota-san was doing. They weren't thrilled about a company executive participating in such a dangerous hobby as auto racing. Toyota-san chose Morizo because it was the name of a popular mascot at the 2005 World's Expo in Aichi Prefecture, home of Toyota. Now, Morizo was a sentient shrub, little bush, promoting the theme of eco-friendliness. I can get behind it. With a ragtag bunch of drivers, mechanics, and engineers fielding secondhand cars and a chief driver named after a friggin' bush, Gazoo Racing was set to compete in one of the most grueling races in the world. Some of the team had never been involved in a race before, which made it a complete shock when they won. I'm lying, that would be insane if they won. They didn't even come close. Cars finished 104th and 110th overall, which was 14th and 16th out of the 19 entrants in their class. But it was their first race, and Nuruse had set a specific goal for the team. Don't drive to win, drive to learn. The point of doing the Nurburgring 24 was that it subjected the cars to the most extreme circumstances a road car would ever face. An endurance race doesn't just reveal how well the car performs as a sports car, it teaches you how reliable it is. Well, figure that out, and you can build ever better road cars. That's a very Toyota way to think about racing. Not everyone at Toyota was critical of their efforts. Over at Lexus, they'd been working with Nuruse on one of their most exciting projects ever, the V10 powered LFA supercar. Oh, so good. Lexus engineers had done most of the early testing at the Nurburgring, and to them, Gazoo Racing's first trip to the ring was a huge success. And it was decided that to be the best car it could be, the LFA need to go racing too. For the next 2 years, LFA prototypes ran the Nurburgring 24 for Gazoo Racing. Again, the mandate was not to win, but to learn. But in 2010, that mandate changed. If Lexus wanted to make the LFA one of the greatest cars ever made, they needed to prove that it could win. So what do? They freaking won! The LFA won its class, beating out Audi R8s, Corvettes, BMWs, Porsches, and a factory-backed Aston Martin team. Unfortunately, Gazoo Racing's first victory was soon overshadowed by tragedy. 1 month after Gazoo's first win on the 2-mile road between the ring and Toyota's development offices, Nuruse was fatally injured in a head-on collision. He was driving a special Nurburgring edition LFA prototype that he'd spent the day testing on the track. He somehow ended up on the wrong side of the road and collided with a BMW-owned test car. Nurburgring was the only fatality, and the ultimate cause of the accident remains unknown. Toyota-san was obviously heartbroken. He'd lost a mentor and a dear friend. Nurburgring had been so integral to Gazoo Racing, his death could have meant the entire end of it. Toyota-san was now president of Toyota and considered shutting down Gazoo, but decided that that wasn't what Nurburgring would have wanted. They had both believed that motorsport was the key to making ever better cars. Gazoo Racing had also moved from an off-the-record race team to a huge marketing success for Toyota. They began producing special G-Sports editions of cars that capitalized on Gazoo's success, and had begun production of GRMN special editions. Now that stood for Gazoo Racing tuned by the Meister of the Nurburgring, a specific reference to Nurburgring. The GRMN badge lives on, now alluding to the new master driver, Mauricio. Toyota-san's alter ego, Mauricio, has become a bit of a sensation. During Gazoo Racing's early years, he maintained a blog on Gazoo.com where he talked about driving. His posts often included cartoon illustrations of Mauricio accompanied by a dog, both wearing Gazoo racing suits. He describes the Mauricio character as his invisibility cloak, an alter ego that gives him the freedom to cast off the business suit and stuffiness expected from a Toyota executive and be the car lover that Nurburgring taught him to be. Look, this guy isn't the car company president we deserve. He's the car company president that we need. He's a man who passed out self-made inspirational Mauricio stickers at car shows and then did donuts in the parking lot. After taking the helm of Toyota, he famously issued a company-wide decree stating, "No more boring cars! I'm about to freaking fall asleep over here! Make something exciting!" He is a true, passionate car enthusiast, and he's in charge of the largest car company in the world. Nurburgring's philosophy and Toyota-san's passion launched Toyota's return to motorsports dominance. After Nurburgring's death, Toyota-san stepped away from racing, but Gazoo continued at the ring, claiming victory in 3 separate classes in 2014 with the LFA and the new Toyota 86. 2015 saw Mauricio return to competition, where he personally drove an LFA to victory at the Nurburgring 24. This guy's the freaking president of the company. Now that same year saw Gazoo Racing, Toyota Racing, and Lexus Racing unified under the Toyota Gazoo Racing name, and a new dedicated German factory that develops and builds their cars and performance cars. That facility made Toyota's return to Le Mans and the WRC possible, where they've been dominant since 2018. Now, all that racing ain't just for bragging rights, even though it's nice. It's for making better cars. Since 2009, there have been many Gazoo special editions, everything from the tiny IQ to the limo-like Century. The latest and greatest is the GR Yaris, an all-wheel drive turbocharged mini monster inspired by the WRC car. This is a rally car for the road, but we didn't get it here. Because us, right? But something is coming. Toyota says that the GR Corolla will be arriving in October of this year, and it has the same powertrain as the RS. It's a little bigger, a little fatter, but so are we. Now, Gazoo-based special editions are great, but after everything he learned from Nurburgring, Toyota-san knew that Toyota needed to make sports cars again. And to ensure that happened without interference, a separate GR brand was launched and the Gazoo Racing Company was established. That in-house company was given independent authority for the return of the Supra, probably the most important nameplate in Toyota history. During final testing before the Supra was approved for 2019 production, the president of Gazoo Racing was asked what was left to do. He responded, "We must wait for Mauricio to drive the Supra at the Nurburgring and give the final seal of approval." That's what it means to be a master driver. At a race in October 2018, Toyota-san competed in the Supra prototype. After the race, he spoke the following words to the late Nurburgring. "Nurburgring-san, we have finally come back to the Nurburgring with the new Supra." Thank you guys so much for watching this video and everything else on Donut Media. Make sure you don't miss anything. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button to let us know we did a good job. If you want some donut swag, go to donut.media.com. I'm really, really excited about our merch program. Dropping a new item just about every week. I love you.